Hello and welcome to the local footy edition of Footy Fix here on GeelongAdvertiser.com.au. My name's Nick Wade and it's GDFL finals time, so we're talking all things GDFL with the Addies local footy reporter Susie Geese. Susie, good to have you on board today.
Thanks for having me, great to be here.
It's good to see you, and but before we talk about the GDFL finals, we must talk about the fiasco that was the last round of the GDFL season, a result that overshadowed the finals, and it was between Thompson and Geelong West. At the end of the day, Geelong West has celebrated a win they never received because the GDFL and the VCFL look set to take that win off them. It was their only win for the year. They haven't won since about midway through last year. It must have been gut-wrenching for them. Absolutely.
Well, first off, they had thought they'd lost the game. Thompson thought they were up by a point, but then obviously umpires overturned it, gave Geelong West the win by a point. They celebrated long into the night by all accounts.
Yep, they did.
And then obviously this week told that it wasn't actually an official win. Point has been taken away.
It's shattering for them, but there have been a few positive signs for the Cheetahs. They've been struggling for a lot of the year, but the last couple of rounds they were seemingly looking like they were going to start stringing a couple of successive good performances together.
Absolutely, like they were holding it up with the top teams, East Geelong, Bellpost Hill. They're up there for a half, 3/4 even, competing with them, obviously blowouts in the end, but there's a lot of improvement from the start of the year.
Good to see. Now, let's move forward to the finals this weekend, and of course Bellpost Hill has got the week off. It was pretty close at the top there, only about 3% separating Bellpost Hill and East Geelong. Is it a two-horse race? Can another side, such as the Werribee Centrals, push these two teams, or are we going to go through the motions until East Geelong and Bellpost Hill play off in the grand final?
Well, it's looking very likely that it will be East Geelong and Bellpost Hill in the final. However, it's too early to discount Werribee Centrals and Inverleigh, I think. Werribee Centrals, since they've got their forward line back into gear, have been very impressive, very hard to shut down. And Inverleigh, of course, a very young team, but they're hard running, they're hard on their attack on the ball. They've beaten Bellpost Hill during the year and they've come close to East Geelong. Exactly.
Now, who are some of the match winners we can look out for at Bellpost Hill? I know they've got a good blend of sort of youth and experience, and Jovanovic has been kicking goals. Who's going to be firing? Who do they need to fire in the finals to be a success?
Well, Jovanovic has had a very great year. He's kicked a few bags. But if he's held on the day, there's always Justin Tarr, who stepped up towards the end of the season, kicked, I think, a bag of 9 at one point and went on a bit of a purple patch of form.
Excellent. And East Geelong, of course, they're playing Werribee Centrals in the qualifying final this weekend. Werribee Centrals made the grand final last year, got smashed by 103 points. They were carrying a few injured players into that grand final. They seem to be a side looking from the outside who are timing their run well and are resting players and maybe have learnt their lesson from last year.
Absolutely. Their coach David Leach said that this season their emphasis was on player management, so they've made sure that they've got the right players hitting their straps as the finals come round. The last few weeks, their forwards, as you've seen, have come back in and made a big impact.
Speaking of forwards, for East Geelong, you've got Lucas Murphy, who kicked a ton this year. Come from Bowen Heads in the Bellarine, where he was a major goal kicker there as well. Big recruit. East Geelong have loaded up this year. They've got some really big guns. He's one player that's going to need to step up again in finals.
Absolutely. His impact in the team can't be understated. He's a great lead-up forward. He's not a one-trick pony by any measure. He has a really big impact on every game. And yeah, they'll be looking at him to kick a bag in the finals.
Good. And in the other final this weekend, Inverleigh and Thompson, it's the elimination final. We touched on Inverleigh before. They haven't made finals since they reformed in the 90s. Of course, they went into recess, I think, for around about 7 or 8 years. And it's a great story down there because they've been trying for a long time. The real lifeblood of that side is their youth, isn't it? And they've got some really good young players who have been really competitive this year and obviously lifted the club into 4th position with 13 wins for the year.
Absolutely. Like, you've got the likes of Brad Nelson and Clayton Trotter, who are just really strong players who always attack the ball, and they're a fast-moving side and they play with the invincibility of youth, so they're an absolute X-factor coming into the finals.
Yeah, definitely. I think youth's the really important part there, and they've played together for a while, which I think is a really good sign of a good team. Now, Thompson, they've sort of snuck in. It was a real dogfight for that 5th position on the ladder. Anarchy were thereabouts, Bannockburn as well. What can we expect from the Tigers?
A good hard contest, I think. Last few weeks they haven't been on top of their game. They lost a bit of form, but coming to finals they are a very competitive side. They're very hard at the ball, so they're going to make it a really good contest, whoever they play.
Excellent. And we'll touch on a side that did miss finals by a couple of games. It was Belmont Lions. They've been the real talking point this year. Last year I think they won just 1 game, and they've won 7 this year. I think they won 5 on the trot. So, and they've committed all their players to next year. They're all signed up, which is a good thing for that club because they've had a couple of years where they've lost a lot of players. You've seen them play a few times. What sort of struck you about the Lions this year?
They're a very energetic side. They never, even when things aren't really going according to their plan, they always keep trying at it. They never really have down patches. They're a very determined outfit and they always make something happen, even if things are going against their way.
That's good, and I think we saw that in the second half of the year because they struggled earlier in the year to win games. They were competitive but not quite getting the job done. Had they won some of those games, they might be in the finals now, and I know the club's set their sights on finishing in the top 5 next year. Great to chat GDFL finals with you, Susie. Before we go, we'll touch on the remaining games in the GFL and the BFL. 2 rounds left in the GFL. The top 3 now, it's a racing 3 because St Joseph's beat South Barwon last weekend. Bell Park, South Barwon and St Joseph's play each other over the next 2 weeks. And in the BFL, we've got 1 round left and Queenscliff sit on top of the ladder there. Again, it looks like it's going to be between Queenscliff, Ocean Grove and Geelong Amateurs. So 1 round left and then finals. Again, I've been Nick Wade. Susie Geese is coming to chat GDFL. It's been great to have your company, and make sure you pick up the copy of the Addy on Friday and Monday for all the local footy news.